Hi everybody, we've come all the way to the mountains of southeastern Oklahoma to bring you this week's episode. We're on a cold front, bright blue skies, crystal clear water, Broken Bow Reservoir, north of Idabel, Oklahoma. Going to be some bass out there today, but they may be a little tough to catch. Let's go figure them out together. Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
You're watching the only program with weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southeast region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Hey everybody, I'm glad you've joined us this week from the Kiamichi Mountains of southeastern Oklahoma. Just outside the city of Broken Bow, Oklahoma, lies Broken Bow Reservoir. It is a deep, crystal clear reservoir that's got 3 different species of bass in it: largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, and spotted bass. On this week's episode, we're going to target all 3 of those. Don't know which ones are going to bite. It's going to be a great test tube today to experiment with some techniques. Why? Well, we've got the Nitro Z20 right here on the boat ramp, but we've had some incredibly difficult conditions move in on us just in the last 24 hours. The lake has risen 4 feet between yesterday and last night. Hard cold front has moved through, dropped the air temperature by over 20 degrees. I'm sure the water temperature is plummeting. The lake is crystal clear. All those factors can add up to tough fishing conditions. I think they can be caught, and I'm going to show you how. While we're out doing that, we're taking you around the region for your latest fishing reports from our expert team of insider reporters from lakes, rivers, and bays right where you live. Both freshwater, saltwater reports for this week coming your way. So right now, let's get things started back at the studio with your weekend planner.
Hello everyone, the Salooner tables are indicating fair game fish activity for both days of fishing this weekend. Peak daytime hours for both Saturday and Sunday will begin after 3. While the best nighttime fishing will take place after 2:30. The sun will rise at 7:26 and set at 7:41. And evenings will feature a moon that is 92% visible. We're coming right back with fishing reports from throughout the area. Plus, I'll return with crappie expert Wally Marshall to answer this week's Ask the Pro question. Stay with us.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Mercury, Go Boldly, Lowrance, America's #1 fish finder, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. Request our free 2019 fishing guide at orangebeach.com.
There we go. There's a largemouth. Caught him on a little shaky head worm right there. Fish. Got him. There we go. What do you got? What do you got? Come up. There he is. What are you? It's a bass of some kind. Largemouth. There we go. All right, we got a start. There's a largemouth. Caught him on a little shaky head worm right there. That's a halfway decent fish. Broken bow bass on average are about like that. They're 13 to 16 inches, and there's thousands and thousands of them in here. And again, 3 species. That's a largemouth. There are spotted bass and smallmouths as well. We're letting him go back. All right, well, let's talk about bass for just a second. All 3 species like stability. They don't like a bunch of sudden and dramatic changes in their environment. They like that water temperature, 60 to 80-ish, something like that. They like the pressure, the barometric pressure, pretty stable. They like the water level, pretty stable. When you start throwing a bunch of variables quickly into that equation, you either get a rapid rise or a fall in the water level. You get that surface temperature dropping a bunch like it did last night. You get the sky and the barometer changing from dark, cloudy, overcast to real bright and sunny, not a cloud in the sky like we have today. These bass just don't like it. They get real finicky, and they typically are going to move from shallow in a feeding mode out deeper. So these fish are going to pull back and get on places where they can move up and down rapidly in the water column. So you can see what I've done is I pulled up on a series of little points here. maybe we can give you some idea of what they look like. But these things all run out from the shoreline, and they all drop off quickly out into the main river channel or creek channel, and it's 80 to 100 feet deep, no more than 75 to 100 yards from where we're sitting. So that bass was on a little point up in about 12, 14 feet of water, but he's at a place where he can run deep and get comfortable and not feel spooky when all these changes hit on him all at one time.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama fishing report. Tons going on in this area right now, and it all revolves around water. Either the water level, the water color, or the current, the amount of current running through the water. So let's start in Mississippi. The bass on Ross Barnett are really biting, and the crappie are really biting. Talked to a buddy of mine down there the other day that does both, and he told me he wouldn't go anywhere else in the state. Long lining for crappie, and he's catching a lot of bass on bright colored square bill crankbaits in shallow water. In Alabama, we're going to go to Gunnersville. The upper end is really good right now, and we're also going to go to the upper end of Pickwick, which would be Wilson Dam. They're really biting there right now. Filmed a show there last year catching big stripers about this time of year, but the big smallmouth are on fire there right now. A-rigs and swim bait. Smith Lake in Alabama is also a great place to go catch big spots, but you better like to fish deep, because what was already a deep lake is a super deep lake right now. The water levels are super high. In Tennessee, we're gonna go to Center Hill. You give that lake a little bit of color and a little bit of high water where the fish can get around that shallow cover, and it is on like a 2-3 zone. They are biting there right now. Guys, it is an awesome time to be here. Just a great time to fish, a lot of changing conditions, but a great time to catch them. We'd love to see you here. God bless.
Hey, looky here. They can be made to bite. Got it. There we go. Let's see what this is. Oh, real gold colored one. That's a beautiful colored fish. And a fat one too. Hey, looky here. Little chunky dude right there. Hit my little worm. Yes, sir. Well, they can be made to bite even on the toughest, most difficult circumstances. You can still modify your techniques and figure out a way to make them bite. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about technique. When these bass are what I call freaked out, which is exactly what they are, when they get all shook up, they're not comfortable, they don't want to feed, they want to run somewhere out in that deep water and be safe. You've got to modify your technique quite a bit. So here's what I'm doing. As you've already seen, I'm positioning myself out here off these points with access to deep water. What I'm doing is I'm throwing out here on the very ends of the points where it falls off and slopes off. And here's the deal. It's called SLOW, slow down. So I'm letting it go to the bottom, and I'm just hopping that rod tip, hop, 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 shaking it. It's called a shaky head for a reason. Letting it fall back, and I'm just kind of letting it sit there, letting it soak, shaking it a little more. But I am not covering water fast at all. I'm not moving the boat fast. I'm just letting it sit here off these points. It's about 3 times slower than the slowest you think you ought to go when the bass are really freaked out like they are on this cold front day, bright sky, high water, everything wrong. They can still be made to bite if you slow down.
Hey folks, it's time for your Carolinas Report this week, brought to you by the Crazy Sister Marina, located on the waterfront in Murrells Inlet. We're the leader in water sports. We have been for years, and we can take care of all your needs, including getting out in the spring and going offshore for some incredible fishing off of our coast here in South Carolina. I'll tell you what, dolphin, tuna, wahoo, it's all here in April and May. Book your trip at crazysister.com. Let's talk about saltwater, and I'll tell you what, the nearshore reefs, I talk about it every year. Sheepshead, sheepshead, sheepshead. They move in this time of the year. They get in those areas 30 to 50 foot deep, those artificial reefs. Great fish to target, a great fight. Get out there with a Lew's inshore bait caster. You can fish right on top of that structure. Use a jig or a Carolina rig, drop that thing down and fish all over that structure. Also in the backwaters, I tell you what, here in South Carolina and Murrells Inlet in particular, we're still seeing some incredible trout. With it being March, you know, we're not typically used to that, but we've got some big breeder trout. This has been your Carolinas Report, brought to you by Crazy Sister Marina. Remember, fish smarter, not harder, and keep your chaos organized.
There's one. Another chunky little bass right there. Right off another little point. We've really got them patterned on these points. They've pulled back and they're sitting right back out on the very tip ends of all the points. Back here about halfway back in major creeks has kind of been the pattern today. Hey, we're gonna let that fish go back, and I wanna tell you just a little bit about Broken Bow and the area around here. First of all, Broken Bow's got lots of different species. We've talked about the 3 bass species. Bryce Archie guides for those. He's been a long time friend of mine, been guiding on this lake forever, knows it probably better than anybody that's ever set foot on it. In fact, I want to show you a quick picture he caught of one over 11 pounds just the week before we got here. There are white bass and some big ones. There are some hybrid stripers. In fact, Bryce said they caught 82 hybrids out of his boat last year. Nobody knows how they got in here, and they're about 4 to 6 pounds, most of those. And it's a great crappie lake as well, and some big crappie in here, and lots of them. And Mike Scarborough guides for the crappie around here. So there's some contact information for you right there if you'd like to book a fishing guide trip. And if you're coming to Broken Bow Lake and would like to stay where we stay, you can get in touch with Bear Mountain Lodging. Sherry and her crew do a great job of managing these unbelievable couples retreat cabins. There are 3 of them actually. There's Nantucket Sam's, there's Rustic Romance, and there's PS I Love You, and all of them have all the latest appointments, everything you would possibly need for an anniversary, a honeymoon, a couple's getaway weekend just for fun. Again, you can contact Bear Mountain Lodging to get the details and book one of these unbelievable rooms, unbelievable cabins.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Lou's. Feel the difference. Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland, the best in bass and crappie lures, heads to tails. Glacier Glove. Stay outdoors longer with our gloves, hats, and shades. Balls Out, made in the USA. Heavy-duty mounts for your fish finders.
There's a smallmouth bass for you from Broken Bow Lake, everybody. Here's a bite right here. Swimming. Got him. That one's way out here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Smallmouth. All right, I caught a smallie. I knew they were in here. I didn't know if I would catch one today. There's a smallmouth bass for you from Broken Bow Lake, everybody. We are coming to you from southeastern Oklahoma, right near the corner of where Arkansas, Texas, and Oklahoma all come together at beautiful Broken Bow Reservoir. What a great place. I've been coming here for a lot of years, and I've caught tons of bass at this lake, but I don't know that I've been here on a difficult day like today. Let me talk to you just a minute about the mental part of fishing on a cold front or a high rise or a big pattern change where the fish just get finicky and freaked out like they are today. It's a mental game. You've got to go into the day expecting to fish slow, be very patient, not get many bites, and you've just got to be okay with that. You know, a lot of days you go fishing and you just want to catch a whole bunch of fish and catch big ones and you're all fired up, and on a day like today, you've got to really change your mind and decide how long you're going to be out there. Don't get freaked out if you go a long time without a bite. I went 3 hours today without so much as a bite in between some of these strikes. Now, I've actually got a little pattern working here later in the day, fishing these points on these drop-offs. But I'm telling you, this is so agonizingly slow that you've got to really set your mind to the fact that it's just going to be that way. Let me say this though, most of the biggest fish that anybody catches in their life are on a day when you don't get many bites. So if you'll use these techniques, have the right mental approach and be patient, you can catch some fish even on these worst kind of days like today.
Tuna, wahoo, sheepshead, and redfish are being caught this week along the southeast coast, along with some speckled trout. But first, this part of the program is brought to you by MirrOlure, building quality saltwater lures since 1937. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a MirrOlure. In Mississippi, yellowfin tuna to 140 pounds are being caught chunking off well offshore out of south of Biloxi off the islands. Closer in the shore, sheepshead fishing has been very good along the Mississippi coast out of most of the ports, Pascagoula, Bay St. Louis, and Biloxi. In Georgia, Captain Tim Cutting out of St. Simon's Island is targeting redfish. Tim says there's lots of fresh water coming in from the rivers along the southeast coast of Georgia. In Alabama, Captain Patrick Garmison on Mobile Bay says again, fresh water has been a kind of an issue with locating trout. He says that the lower bay area has been kind of tough because of that fresh water coming in. The trout tend to be around the bigger rivers. Tim is catching those trout on mullet imitating plugs like the Myrdine XXL, and he's also catching redfish near docks, piers, points, and creek mouths. Well, that's it for the southeast coast. Get out in the water and take a youngster with you when you go.
Jumper. Little jumper here, right toward the end of the day. Sun's starting to go down. And I got a fighter. Quit jumping. Stop jumping. There we go. All right, there's one more for you. Hey, I haven't mentioned one really important factor in this fishing today. That's a very healthy, fat, beautiful, green-looking largemouth bass right there. These fish are beautiful in this clear water. That's one of the things you're going to love if you come here to do this. It's just how pretty the fish are, and you get to watch them in this really clear water like this. And see ya. Have not mentioned that when these fish get mad like this and all finicky, they're going to suck down against the bottom. So I'm not using any suspending baits. Everything I've done has just been hopping it, and keeping that bait right in contact with the bottom. I can feel the rocks, I can feel the stumps. They'll sometimes suck down real tight to cover, tight to stumps, tight to trees. But you want to keep in contact with the bottom all the time. That's where they're going to go when they get all upset like this and they're not really actively feeding. When they're really actively feeding, hey, they'll chase it all up all over the place. Mad fish, go to the bottom, work something along the bottom. Your chances of getting bit are a whole lot better. Ending to a beautiful day, Broken Bow Reservoir in southeastern Oklahoma. What a deal. Come get you some.
You can always watch our latest episode on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Catch up on past episodes and learn about fishing techniques and new gear at our how-to page. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for new fishing videos every day. Simply search for Fox Sports Outdoors and click the like button on Facebook and the follow button on Twitter, and watch a new episode every week on any device by downloading the free Waypoint TV app on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Motor Guide's wireless and easy-to-use XI3, Waypoint Marine, the Gulf Coast's leading saltwater boating specialist, Strike King, Taiwan Han, and Tracker Boats, America's best-selling fishing boats.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's get right to your Ask the Pro question for this week. Monty wants to know, what do you do when crappie are not biting jigs very well? For an answer, we asked the one and only Mr. Crappie, Wally Marshall.
You know, the other day I was out fishing, and you know, the crappie were just barely pulling at the bait, just barely pulling at it. And I was like, missing them. And I said, man, it must be the color. I had on a pink and chartreuse. I was in dingy water, but I went back to my old-time favorite, the blue and white, and it was an overcast day. As soon as I stuck that blue and white in there, I'm talking about bam, they were just hitting it a lot harder. So the next time you're out on the lake and you're not getting bit real hard, change your color and you'll have more success catching lots of crappie.
Thank you, Wally. If you want some help from one of the pros, simply go to foxsportsoutdoors.com and follow the Ask the Pro link to submit a question. Now it's time to find out who wins this week's Big Catch of the Week.
We are back at the boat ramp, and it's time right now for this week's winner in the Big Catch of the Week contest. He is Matt Smith of Bowling Green, Kentucky, showing a 6-pound smallmouth bass he caught at Dale Hollow Lake in Tennessee. If you'd like to be our next winner, just go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/foxsportsoutdoors, and you can submit your photo there. Just post your photo to our Facebook page and you'll be entered in the contest. Next up on our gear segment, you do need some specialized gear to be able to catch some of these finicky bass like we caught today at Broken Bow. It begins with one of my favorite spinning rod outfits. It's the Team Lou's Custom Pro Speed Stick rod. It's the highest end rod, spinning rod, that Lou's has ever produced, and it's rigged with the Custom Pro Speed Spin reel. You can see it there. It is a perfectly matched combo for this type of fishing. I had it rigged with 10-pound test fluorocarbon line for this very clear water. The baits we used, well, it begins with a shaky head worm. I've got a little lead jig head, and I've threaded on it a Jean LaRue salt head shaky worm. It's perfect for this application. We also caught some fish on a Ned rig, which is also a lead jig head with a little piece of plastic on it. That's a Jean LaRue inchworm, and we pinched it off, and all you do is throw it out, let it go to the bottom, and reel it back in slowly. At one point in my life, I dealt with a bout of clinical depression. Now, this is not just a short period of time where you feel sad or down or lonely and it goes away. This is something much more serious. It's not emotional. It's based in the central nervous system. It's when the electrical impulses and chemicals are not doing their job properly, and it is serious. So if you deal with crazy thoughts in your head, voices in your head, a dark cloud hanging over you, the inability to make decisions or move, or suicidal thoughts, then you need to get help and get it now. And it begins with a trip to your medical doctor. There are good medicines out there that can help real diagnosed clinical depression, but it is serious. You need to move. You don't need to delay on it. You need to go to your doctor and get some help. I hope you enjoyed our trip today to beautiful Broken Bow Lake in southeastern Oklahoma. One more time, I want to give you the information for Bryce Archie, my fishing guide buddy who guides here all of the time for bass, and Mike Scarborough, who guides for crappie here as well. And I want to show you just a couple of more quick shots of the beautiful lodges and cabins that we stayed in here at Bear Mountain Lodging. Contact Sherry and her crew for a fantastic weekend getaway. Hope you'll use some of the techniques we discussed today out on the lake the next time you encounter some extreme conditions for bass fishing. These are proven techniques, they'll work, and they'll help you catch more bass. From Broken Bow Lake in southeastern Oklahoma, until next week, I'm Barry Stokes. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.